Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to stay updated with our latest video. Mike Wolfe's sentence shocked people all over the country when the American Picker star was handcuffed and taken away. Everyone thought that his arrest had something to do with a fight over antiques or maybe a business issue with the History Channel. Breaking news reveals that Wolfe's arrest followed the discovery that his former co-host Frank Fritz's death was not due to natural causes as initially believed. Instead, police now say it was planned murder. Medical reports reveal that Fritz's body contained lethal amounts of drugs. He had purposely overdosed, and Wolfe was charged with murder because it was clear that it wasn't a mistake. It's hard to understand why you would drug a former business partner who trusted you fully. Some might even say it's bad. Even though many fans thought the tension between the two picks was just for TV ratings, Wolfe was already in jail and facing serious charges for what the authorities called a murder done out of jealousy and greed. However, there were reports on social media that Wolfe's charges were temporarily lowered while investigators gathered more proof. In another post, it was said that Wolfe was first arrested after an American Pickers team member put him at Fritz's house when Fritz died. The Iowa State Police did a full investigation and found strong evidence, such as Wolfe's fingerprints on medicine bottles and strange text messages to Fritz. This led them to push for first-degree murder charges against Wolfe. There were problems with Frank Fritz's toxicology results, which led to the start of the investigation into his death. The official cause of death was listed as complications from his stroke, but the autopsy showed that he had dangerously high levels of prescription drugs in his body, far higher than what would be expected for his state. This raised red flags right away, especially since Fritz had been very good about taking his medicine as prescribed while he was recovering. In secret, the Iowa State Police began looking into who had access to Fritz in his last hours. What they found shocked even officers who had done this before. Fritz's neighborhood security cameras captured Wolfe's car arriving at the house late at night, approximately 3 hours prior to the police's call. Later that night, Wolfe called 911, saying he had gone to the house to check on an old friend and found him unconscious. When the ambulance arrived, Fritz wasn't moving and didn't have a heartbeat. People tried to bring him back to life but failed, and he was declared dead at the scene. At first, it was thought to be linked to his previous stroke, but toxicology results showed otherwise. Investigators were especially suspicious of Wolfe's actions right after Fritz died. Instead of weeping, as one might expect, he moved quickly to take control of Fritz's collection and intellectual property. Within 48 hours, he called Fritz's lawyers to ask about buying the rights to use his name and picture on future American Pickers merchandise. According to testimony from production staff, he also went straight to Fritz's storage units and took expensive antiques that had never been shown on the show. Wolfe seemed especially focused and not very sad when talking about business so soon after Fritz's death, according to several crew members. When police checked Wolfe's home and office, they found a hidden safe with several unlabeled prescription bottles that turned out to contain the same drugs that were found in Fritz's system. The most damning discovery was a diary in Wolfe's travel bag. In it, he had written a lot about how angry he was at Fritz. Some writings were from years ago and used more and more rude language. Just a few weeks before Fritz died, he wrote, "F thinks he can come back and take half the spotlight again. He doesn't remember that the show would not happen without me. He has turned into a problem. The network tells me there is only one way to keep what I've made." Wolfe was surprisingly calm during the 6-week trial. He sat quietly next to his lawyers while the prosecution explained how he had carefully planned Fritz's death. The jury heard that he had been looking into drugs that can't be tracked and ways to make a murder look like it was caused by natural causes. Some of the things he looked up on the internet after he died were, can stroke medication interactions be detected after death, and how to make someone's death look like they had stroke complications. The prosecution said Wolfe made use of Fritz's past health problems, seeing them as the right reason to kill him. People who used to work on American Pickers said they saw troubling changes in the relationship between Wolfe and Fritz in the years before Fritz quit the show and later died. One production assistant told the judge that she had heard Wolfe demanding full creative power over the show's future direction during heated arguments. Since he was sick, he told Frank that he no longer had the right to equal credit. The helper spoke in court. Several witnesses said Wolfe was becoming more and more controlling. They said Wolfe often spoke badly about Frits to network execs and cut him off from longtime friends in the antiques community. Danielle KBY's emotional statement may have been the most moving. She reluctantly went on the stand for the prosecution. She told me through tears that she had talked to Wolfe about how he was treating Frits. I saw that Mike had become obsessed with being the only face of American Pickers. She said, when I asked him about reconciling with Frank, he became defensive and angry, telling me to stop interfering in things that don't concern you. Colby said he found disturbing notes about Fritz's medication plan in Wolfe's office and asked Wolfe about them. Wolfe said he was only worried about Frank's health. The defense team tried to paint a picture of a friendship that was misread, saying that Wolfe had really tried to make things right with Frits before he died. They called in executives from the networks to testify about Wolfe's public comments in support of Fritz's recovery. But Fritz's personal doctor said that even though Frits was worried about his health, he was optimistic about his recovery and making plans to start his antiques business. This theory was badly weakened by this information. The doctor also said that he had never given Frits such high doses of the drugs that were found in his blood. Wolfe's carefully kept calm started to break during cross-examination. He yelled at the lawyer when asked directly if he had given Frits the medicines. Nobody can tell you what it's like to start from scratch and see someone else smile for the cameras while everyone else thinks he's just as important to the show's success. His defense team had to call a break because of his rage, but the damage had already been done. Later, the jurors said that this moment was very important to their decision-making because it showed how angry Wolfe was at Frits even though he had left the show years before. When forensic accountants talked about strange changes they saw made to Wolfe's business structure, it became clear that they were after money. In the months before Fritz's death, Wolfe quietly changed how his businesses worked so that Fritz's ideas would be taken over if he got sick or died. He had also bought Frits a business insurance cover that would pay out $5 million to his company if he died. In addition, prosecutors said Wolfe had set up several fake companies that Frits didn't know about and was putting valuable items into them, which had assets worth over $2 million. The jury only talked about the case for 4 hours before returning with a guilty decision. Everything went totally off the rails when the judge gave him a life sentence without the chance of parole. Wolfe had been calm during the whole trial, but all of a sudden he jumped up and yelled, "You don't understand. He was going to ruin everything. He was going to ruin my legacy." He slammed into the defense table, throwing legal pads and water glasses everywhere. The bailiffs ran after him, but he was already swinging wildly toward Fritz's family before they could stop him. As soon as Wolfe got away again, people in the hall started yelling and pushing their way out the door. This time, I built American Pickers by taking an old walking stick that had been turned in as evidence and swinging it like a weapon, hitting one of the bailiffs in the arm. The man screamed as 3 more police officers knocked him to the ground. It was my life's work. The judge had to leave the courtroom because Wolfe kept fighting, kicking, and screaming about betrayal while police tried to restrain him. Fritz's sister was at the sentencing, and security had to help her leave because Wolfe tried to attack her. "I deserved everything," he screamed as they finally put handcuffs on him. Wolfe locked eyes with Danielle Colby, who was sitting on the balcony, and yelled, "Tell them the truth. Tell them what Frank was really like." This phase was the most shocking part. Colby turned away, clearly upset, as other crew members broke down in tears. The American Picker trial has split the family into 2 groups, those who back Wolfe and those who support the prosecution. Court papers showed that Wolfe had been deliberately turning crew members against Frits in the years before he died. This caused major rifts in the production team that may never be fixed. As security staff tried to keep Wolfe under control, he continued his rant, giving even more upsetting information. He was going to start his show, he said. He told me I was obsolete, that the network wanted him back. Reporters in the courtroom said it was a strange scene, and at least 3 people were hurt, including Wolfe's own defense lawyer, who was hit by a flying water pitcher. As they dragged him out of court, he kept yelling about betrayal and his heritage, saying Frits had planned to destroy him. Later, lawyers said that his violent rage pretty much ruined any chance of an appeal because it went against his defense team's claim that he was a misunderstood businessman who couldn't be violent. In the days after Wolfe's meltdown in court, his old friends and co-workers came forward with stories that shed new light on his personality. Thomas Reynolds, a former director for American Pickers, said that Wolfe would get very angry behind the scenes when things didn't go his way. On camera, he kept up this perfect, friendly look. Reynolds said, behind the scenes, though, he could be scary, especially for new employees. His whole attitude would change when the cameras stopped running. Some people said he was becoming more and more paranoid over the past few years. Frits was suspected of planning to return to TV with a competing show. The case has shocked reality TV fans around the world, and American Pickers, which had millions of watchers, now has an uncertain future. The History Channel took down all of Wolfe's shows and said they were shocked and sorry for Fritz's family's loss. Some big companies have pulled their support, and it's still not clear what will happen with the show. Fritz's family has asked to take control of his antiques and intellectual property, saying they will honor his memory while also taking legal action against the network for letting Wolfe's behavior get worse. Mental health professionals who looked into the case think Wolfe may have had narcissistic personality disorder, which was made worse by his years of fame. A forensic psychologist who watched the trial, Dr. Robert Keller, said, "This doesn't excuse his actions, but it helps explain the difference between his public persona and private behavior. People who are narcissistic may seem calm and lovely, but they may be filled with anger and planning to get even." Fritz's leaving the show would have been a selfish wound that would have lasted for years. The most troubling thing about Wolfe is how he used his fame as a TV host to change how people saw him. In the weeks after Fritz's death, he went on social media and said that he died because of problems from his stroke. He also used the time to talk about special products that would be made in Fritz's honor. While arguing for the case, prosecutor Sarah Donovan said this wasn't just murder. This was a planned trick play on the millions of viewers who trusted the man who had killed his ex-partner and was using their sadness to get rich. In the weeks after Fritz's death, more than $1 million was raised, and a lot of it was sent to accounts that only Wolfe could access. As Mike Wolfe starts his life sentence, his fans and former watchers are left to figure out how to reconcile the public image of a passionate antiques collector with the reality of a man who can kill and get violent in court. Many people have said they feel betrayed by both Wolfe's deeds and the years of lies. Longtime American Pickers watcher Robert Jenkins said, "We let him into our homes every week. We believed in his friendly personality and desire to protect things. It's terrible to find out it was all a show." TV stars who had worked with Wolfe in the past have distanced themselves, with many releasing statements in which they show shock and ask for respect for Fritz's memory. The tragedy keeps getting worse for the team of American Pickers. During the trial, they testified that the production was very split. Some believed Wolfe was innocent, while others were sure he was guilty. After testifying for the prosecution, Danielle KBY has taken a break from TV, saying she needs time to heal and think. She asked for privacy in a short statement and said she hoped that the tradition of preserving antiques that brought us all together in the first place could continue in some way, even though these terrible events have happened. Other crew members have stayed out of the public eye because they are still dealing with the stress of losing Fritz and seeing Wolfe get found guilty of killing him. Before Wolfe's outburst, the judge said some sage things. "Mr. Wolfe," he said, "you presented yourself as a champion of American history and preservation while harboring thoughts of revenge and murder. You used your platform to talk about how important the past was while planning the murder of the man who helped build that platform. Today, justice was done not only for Frank Fritz but also for the millions of people who trusted you." This is when Wolfe slammed into the table, starting the violent outburst that would be his last public appearance before he was taken away to spend the rest of his life in prison. As Mike Wolfe's prison doors close, his last words to the audience will still be heard, "Goodbye forever to all of you. One day, the truth will be known." It's still not clear whether these were the last desperate cries of a man facing punishment or the final tricks of a skilled performer. American Pickers and reality TV will never be the same again. The memory of the show, which used to be about preserving Americana and history, will always be tainted by murder, betrayal, and a violent outburst in court that showed the darkness hiding behind one man's public persona of folky charm and love for the past.